Today we have a very interesting talk by Izwan Shahmin from Petronas on titled Malaysia Asset Development and Management. Okay, so just to introduce myself, my name is Hazik. I am a reservoir engineer at ExxonMobil, and I'll be your moderator for this session. Before we begin, I'd like to thank everyone for taking some time out of your lunch break. We know everybody is very busy, so thank you once again for tuning into our session today. All right, let's see. So this is the 5th installment out of a planned 10 different lectures that we're going to be doing under the MIT Technical Talk series. So we're going to be doing each of these talks weekly. Since it's the 5th talk or installment, I believe most of you are already familiar with how it goes down. But for those of you who are new to this series, we have a session once a week on Wednesdays from 12 to 1:30 p.m. So we're already at the halfway mark. So let's hope that we can get even more continued support for our program. And thank you for tuning in again. So you can follow us on our LinkedIn. You can search for SPE Kuala Lumpur section or by scanning the QR code here. And in case you missed out some of the previous sessions that we had, you can check out our YouTube channel, search SPE Kuala Lumpur, or again, you can scan the QR code. We have our recordings up there. We also have recordings of other sessions not from this series up there as well. Okay, and if you're not sure where to get the invitations for the future sessions, if you are an SPE member under the Kuala Lumpur section, we'll be sending you emails to all of those. If not, you can always check our LinkedIn, where we make the invitations available to everyone. Yeah. Okay, so just a bit of housekeeping before we begin the session. We will have roughly 50 minutes of presentation by Mr. Izwan, followed by 20 minutes Q&A and a 10 to 15 minutes of Kahoot quiz. During the presentation, I appreciate if everybody could mute your microphones as to prevent any disruptions. And also this session is going to be recorded for the purpose of documentation. So if you're not comfortable with being recorded, you can always check out the recording at a later date. If you have any questions, you can write it down in our chat box. I'll make note of those and ask them at the end. Or you may also raise your hand, and if the speaker is willing to answer your questions, then you may voice out your questions. Finally, just to inform, for the Kahoot quiz that we have, there is actually a prize for the winner of that quiz. That will be a 50 ringgit e-voucher graciously sponsored by SPE Kuala Lumpur. So do make sure that you stay in and try your best for that quiz. You can email us to claim your prize, and we'll also ask you to stay at the end of the session for a few minutes to confirm your identity. All right, so now I'd like to pass the floor to Harvin to talk about the SPE membership.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. All right, so this is my turn to actually talk about the SPE membership. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you were to join SPE as a member, there will be a lot of professional benefits that you can actually obtain. So for example, you can actually do mentoring. You can actually become a ambassador lecturer. You can actually volunteer for SPE. That means, to actually create a visibility for everyone. And you get free education. You get a lot of articles to read, your JPT online. You get a lot of things, freebies for you to read, actually. You get accredited. It's independent. You have independent insurance as well. Professional networking. You are allowed to network with all the SPE members, so that actually increases your networking circle. And you actually obtain a free access to SPE papers. So that will be 6 annually. Next, please. All right, so for students, it's even better. So students actually get free membership currently, and you receive mentoring. You are able to apply for scholarships or even fellowships. You can even join the Petrobol competitions, student paper contests. In the event that you face any issues with your career, you have career guidance, tips and all that. And then you also have field trips which you can join. Next, please. During this particular situation, this pandemic situation, so for last year and for this year, there will be three new things that will be introduced. One is the fee for Malaysians will be reduced by 50%. So the membership renewal as well will be free for those who have lost their jobs, and the insurance program for SPE members. So members who are actually transitioning from student to professional membership upon graduation will be eligible to receive a first year of SPE professional membership. That means that will be free. So even in that sense, you will actually get a JPT online as well. So for your reading, students may elect to have their dues paid by a contribution from Chevron. So your membership that is free for students is actually sponsored by Chevron. Next, please. All right. So now that I've explained to you the professional and student, so this is just basically a summary. So student members, you receive mentoring, scholarships, fellowships, competitions, contests, guidance in careers, and also field trips. Professional members, you provide or you can receive mentoring. You can volunteer in a lot of our activities. Participate in all the technical talks or even trainings, workshops, and there are many conferences as well that you can join. So the extra benefits is the free membership for those who have lost their jobs, insurance program for SPE members, and of course you get one petrol discount as well. So why wait? Register today and let's get the ball rolling. So there will be a winner there will be a lucky draw. So there will be a winner for a fit watch and also a chance to present at one of our SPE KL activities. So don't miss out the chance. Submit your application and also register today. There is a email address over there for your viewing and for you to note down. Please do send the confirmation email to Miss Fatima. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Harvin. Yep, I've been an SPE member for about 3 to 4 years now, and yeah, it has really helped me immensely with a lot of things. As a student, I did participate in the Petrobol competition, and now that I'm currently working, I am the connection to SP has really given me a lot. So thanks again, Harvin. And for all of our viewers, if you're not already an SPE, a member of SPE International or SPE Kuala Lumpur, I do suggest you to take the first step in joining this organization as a member. All right. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk a little bit about what the talk is going, what the presentation is going to be, and I'm going to introduce our speaker as well. So again, the presentation today is titled Malaysia Asset Development and Management. So this presentation will cover on the awareness level of overall management of Malaysia's domestic petroleum resources through the life cycle of the upstream oil and gas assets, specifically for development and production phase. And so a bit about our speaker today. So Izwan has been working in the industry for more than 16 years. He first completed his study in chemical engineering with a specialization in petrochemicals at University Technology Petronas in 2004. He started his career as a production technologist at PCSB by conducting a surveillance job of producing gas fields in Terengganu. Subsequently, in 2010, he moved to an international assignment at Vietnam, covering surveillance for 2 oil fields, 3 development projects, including carbonate and basement rocks, and overall contracting of well testing and tubing conveyed perforation. In 2014, he has been given a new role to look after the overall Petronas Carigali production enhancement activities covering both Malaysia and international. Since 2016 to the present time, Izwan is working at Malaysia Petroleum Management (MPM) under the Resource Development Management as one of the asset managers. His role is to look after a PSC covering the development and production phase, as one of the and is also one of the content owners for the PPGUA, which is the Petronas Procedure and Guideline for Upstream Activities. And Izwan is also an active SPE member, where he has contributed as a committee for our workshops and events, and where he is currently serving as the secretary for the Kuala Lumpur SPE section. All right, so without further ado, I'll pass the floor to Izwan to begin his presentation.
Thank you, Fazli. Can you share my screen? Okay, I think everyone can see the screen.
Yep.
All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Haziq for the kind introductions. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are safe wherever you are. It is my privilege to meet you virtually today for the SPE Technical Talk Series brought to you by SPE KL for the MIT. I hope this session will be beneficial to you to learn and pick up something new and also an opportunity for me to learn from you too through our interactions. Before we start, could I see show of virtual hands based on the types of companies that you are currently working with? How many of you working for at operating companies such as Petronas Carigali, ExxonMobil, or Shell? Can I see raise of hand, please? Okay, it's 3 persons so far, 5, 6. Okay, I can see Siti Najmi as well. Okay, we have around 6 people. Okay, you can lower your hands, lower your virtual hands. And can I see from service companies? How many from service company? Just to, okay, 2, 3, 9. Okay, we have around 9. Okay, thank you. You may lower your hand. And can I see from academia? Do we have anyone from academia just to check? Oh, we have around 2 from academia. Okay. Oh, 3 from academia. That's good. Thank you. And just want to check, freelancer. Do we have freelancer in the house as well? We have around 1 freelancer. All right. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Just to to match the contents to the majority of the attendance. Okay. Next, on the screen, this is just my pictures for one of the projects that I was working on in Vietnam. We are about to load out the top site of the platform. Before we proceed, just let's do a simple activities to gauge what is your expectation from this session based on the topic that will be shared today, just based on the topic that will be shared today. So just go to menti.com and put in the code 68872177. Let me share the screen in 1 minute. All right. What is your expectation for today? You can put at the post as much as possible, and later on we can revisit at the end of the session whether we manage to cover most of it. Okay, just take out your phone, go to menti.com and key in the code 68872177. So we'll cover on the production phase, the operation phase. Any feedback so far? So just take your handphone, go to menti.com and put the code, which is 68872177. Okay, that's good. See some critical documents, asset growth plans, then about the outlook. Okay, most of it's actually unique because all actually same size. So if it's actually on the same subject, then you can see the bigger size of the words. You can see production is the biggest as of now. Okay. Digital appetite. Okay. Okay. All right. So allow me to print screen this. Just to revisit later on at the end of the session. All right. Thank you for the feedback from all the 16 participants. Thank you very much. So I'll just put it aside, and those who still would like to contribute, you can just contribute. So I'll proceed with the presentation. All right. So For the next 40 minutes or so, we will go through the contents as shown on the screen. First one on the general upstream regulatory framework, that is on the main legislation governing the industry. And the two main parts here, one is on ADE, that is stand for Asset Development Integrated Review, and second one is on AME, that stand for Asset Management Integrated Review. So those actually working operators, probably they are, well versed on this, probably already have experience on it, and probably some of them actually master on the subject. Okay, and at the end of the session, we will have recap and quiz. I hope you get the quiz. So just to gauge whether I managed to deliver it correctly. All right, let's move to the next screen. Okay, on the screen, you can see the pyramids on the General Upstream Regulatory Framework. From the top, the PDA stands for Petroleum Development Act, vests in Petronas the entire ownership and exclusive right to exploit Malaysia petroleum resources. Petronas is a corporation wholly owned by the government of Malaysia and is directly answerable to the Prime Minister, so there's no ministry. This body also provides expert advice to the government on oil and gas matters, regulation, incentive in ensuring a conducive environment for upstream investment. Petronas through MPM enters into petroleum management contracts with oil and gas companies, and it is responsible in overseeing operation and managing the contractor's performance. So later on, I'll explain a little bit on the contractor performance. So you might aware, since 1976, the concession-based system has been evolved to production sharing contract to give optimum profit between all involved parties. There are a few latest ones introduced in Malaysia, amongst others, namely late life asset and small field asset. Okay, for the late life asset or LLA is a simplified commercial arrangement designed to empower contractor and reward efficiency with shared abandonment liability. So the focus is on abandonment. And for the small field asset or SFA, it promotes a staggered commitment approach that covers pre-development phase for 2 years and development phase for the next 2 years. So we are accustomed with the FDP, but for SFA, it shall be FDAP, that is stand for Field Development Abandonment Plan. It's also on abandonment. I also would like to share a little bit on the contractor's performance, where for Malaysia, there's a contractor's compliance index to holistically evaluate the PAC performance. So this shall be benchmarked between all the PAC for their performance level, recognitions or incentive, and the PAC also know which is the area that need to improve. Okay. Now we move to the next layer, which is on PPGUA. PPGUA is one-step document reference for governing Malaysia oil and gas upstream activities, and the PPGUA stands for Petronas Procedure and Guideline for Upstream Activities, as Haziq mentioned earlier on. So it codified the standard policies and the requirement and applicable for all petroleum management contractors in Malaysia, and is created to complement the petroleum management contract as key reference in governing upstream activities, supported by Petronas related guideline, which is from the bottom here, such as PTS, stand for Petronas Technical Standard, PTCAM stand for Petronas Standards and Contract Administrative Manual, and others. Okay, so let us move to the next slide. So you can see on the screen, this is the list of volumes in PPGUA. On the screen, you can see there are 12 volumes, and the latest version is 4.1. First one is on the preamble, which provides the guide on how to utilize the document, the terminologies, objective, and scope of the PPGUA document. And second one on the petroleum investment, which contains the block acquisition, farm in, farm out exercise. And for volume 3, it touches on HSSE, on the HSSE management system. Volume 4, it consists on the work program budget, annual review of petroleum resources, crude oil and gas supply annual productions, and quarterly performance review. Meanwhile, for volume 5, it covers on the explorations that include exploration production sharing contract management, exploration drilling, seismic data acquisition and processing operation, non-seismic survey, and also the geohazard survey. For volume 6, which we'll cover later on, is on the flow of the project from the study to the first hydrocarbon delivery. One of the main review process is Asset Development Integrated Review, that is ADE. Meanwhile, for volume 7, it covers wider scope for offshore and also onshore well drilling, completion, testing, workover, and intervention activities. For volume 8, it covers the comprehensive procedure and guideline related to asset management on well and reservoir management and production operation management. And annually, there's a business process which is called AME, that stands for Asset Management Integrated Review, that will be covered briefly later. Next, on volume 9, which is on abandonment, that cover the pre-decommissioning process, decommissioning, post-decommissioning, abandonment review, and abandonment cess. Volume 10 on manpower requirement pertaining to Malaysianization and affiliate services. Volume 12, I will jump to volume 12 first, which is on the finance-related matters. And volume 11, I mentioned it last because it covers everything that's not covered by other volume, which is on information release, coordination with the local authorities such as MKN, land matters, risk management, business continuity management, and many more. Okay. Let's go to the next screen. Before we move to ADE and AME, I would like to share a little bit on Petronas activity outlook. This outlook covering the whole business in Malaysia, giving the insight for the industry and the demand outlook. And usually this information is for the next 3 years. And usually we actually publish this at the end of the year. And this is actually available at the public domain. You can just Google and you can search for Petronas activity outlook. This is available at Petronas website. Let me just go through some of the contents, so that you have an idea how to use it. So in the content under outlook for the subsurface here, the A here. So for the 3 years, you have the forecast that will show the rig activities based on the different types of the rig. So you can see here the jackup, tender assisted drilling rig, hydraulic workover unit, and semi-sub. And in the engineering part, for the section B here, engineering, construction, and projects. So you have the view how much is the numbers of greenfield and brownfield that is under category for fields to develop, for the project planning, geological and reservoir modeling, conceptual facilities design, front-end engineering design, and also the field development plan. So you have the view of this. So later on, once you get access to this Petronas activity outlook, you even can see the name of the firm project. So it's already. So this is very useful because not only for the company to strategize their resources, but even for the student in charting their career opportunity. But at the same time, I need to caution that the forward-looking information is based on the information that is currently available on the date that it was produced. Okay, but it's a very good reference. All right. Now, let us jump back to PP Gua. On the screen, you can see in volume 6, the field development and project governance. There are 12 sections in volume 6. So just now we covered in overall of PP Gua, we have 12 volumes. And in volume 6, we also have 12 sections. So these 12 sections covering on asset development and management, HSE, Petronas upstream projects management, detailed design, procurement activities, fabrication and construction, transportation and installation, hookup and commissioning, development drilling, handover to operation and project closure, project reporting and documentation, and last one is Malaysia regulatory requirement. And all the content is derived based on the experience of PAC and also MPM for various types of petroleum arrangements and background. So all the requirements that we set here is actually minimum, but is essential. Okay, let's move to next slide. Okay, for volume 6, section 1 is provide the process related to the asset development review and endorsement, which is managed by TRC and the TRC Secretariat. TRC stands for Technical Review Committee. The approach taken by Petronas on asset review and approval process is to ensure that the proposed development is aligned with the objective of Petronas. And of course, under some condition, Petronas may take broader issue or policy into consideration in the field development approach. The process is designed to be flexible for all types of project, for example, different sizes and complexity, fit for purpose, and objective or value-driven that's allow early involvement of Petronas from planning stage to drive optimized development. So the TRC, which is the bottom here, is established by Petronas to govern the asset development and management in terms of the review process, is a single point for the techno-commercial accountability that endorses technical assurance, plan, activities, schedule, and cost through ADE and AME. Okay. And the TRC also should provide a strong and strategic management to drive to improve exploitation of hydrocarbon resources, enhance the performance of existing production system, and optimize development and operation costs with a proactive risk or uncertainty mitigation plan and HSE strategy. The other role of ADIA TRC also include to provide consistent quality assurance for all technical deliverables conducted by contractors or service providers, and also to provide critical challenges and constructive feedback to contractors' projects team, and on the last box, to capture the best practices from one project and disseminate it to the others, to the other field or other PSC. Okay, let us move to next slide. So the process of ADE is to ensure optimum development plan from an outcome of multidiscipline integrated evolution. So for the typical ADE process, there are 7 steps. The first 5 steps are designed to cover MR1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and this milestone review are conducted before the FDP submission, while the remaining 2 steps referring to FDP approval, and the last one is on the final investment review. At MR1, that phase covers on the planning and expectation setting for FDP, or ADP, stand for Area Development Plan, or Full Field Review, or stand for FFR. MR2 covers the reservoir characterizations and volumetric assessment. MR3, dynamic performance and predictions. MR4, integrated surface and subsurface development concept. And MR5, on FEED, which is front-end engineering design. All MR2 and MR5 is with intent to gain greater technical knowledge, understanding, and provide different perspective through upfront investment for early in buy-in and resolving any technical issues. So for FDP approval, FDP shall be fully endorsed by all parties before its submission. And some of the good practices made by PSC, such as submitting the draft FDP or various drafted sections of the document for early review, that will facilitate in terms of the approval time frame objective. And contractor also may choose to submit copies of the draft FDP sent to the JV partners for parallel review by Petronas to expedite the approval process. Still on the subject on the MR, on the milestone review, the timing of the MR shall coincide with the completion of each major geoscience and engineering discipline. So it is expected for the contractors to perform the required technical evaluation and obtain endorsement from the TRC for each of the milestone. The agreed technical assessment shall form the basis of the next milestone discussion or evaluation. So this will help to ensure the continuity and avoid unnecessary revisiting of items that had already been agreed. The MR also act as a platform to resolve any aspect of the development which may contradict with the overall objective. The contractors actually shall furnish all the required information and analysis in timely manner, including providing clarification if required before FDP submission. So the last step, which is the FIR, stand for Final Investment Review, is to ensure the cost containment and the project robustness. So that's another last process that we need to review, or the expenditure, and also whether we already meet the FDP objective. Okay, we already covered the top part. Now let's go through the bottom part, which is the typical studies. First one is AVF, stand for asset value framing. So Petronas may require contractors to perform AVF on asset or group of asset in contract area. The trigger point of AVF can be result of AME or ADE or any other engagement as required, and contractor may also propose to conduct AVF on selected asset. AVF provides an avenue to generate and consolidate opportunity in integrated manners and holistic manners, including opportunity and synergy both within contract area and beyond contract area and expiry. So that's a bit unique about AVF. After close out of AVF, contractor shall continues monitor the actual progress versus the roadmap, and that usually done annually through AME. And based on the roadmap progress, a decision will be made whether another AVF is required, and the AVF itself can be input to MR1, while MR1 scope and schedule shall be aligned to opportunity roadmap. So at the same time, the TRC also may allow AVF outcome to be used input to pre-decommissioning feasibility study in lieu of FFR. So it's served for multi-purpose. It can goes to MR1, we can use for decommissioning, and if let's say there's other opportunity, we can continue work on that. That's very unique about AVF. Next one is on FDP. You can see on the next card. So those are the typical categories of projects that requiring FDP. For green and initial development is the development of virgin field utilizing an existing or new platform. And for infill, for further development of producing a reservoir, monetizing the new reservoir from an existing platform and a mature field with no major modification required to the facilities, maybe just some of the float lines. The EOR and EGR, the scope is defined as the incremental volume that can be recovered through any kind of injection process that modify the reservoir fluids properties, fluid interaction, fluid rock interaction, and the implementations of the primary, secondary, and the EOR, EGR process may occur in terms of the life cycles of the field on case-by-case and value-driven basis. Okay. Meanwhile, on the infrastructure, okay, the infrastructure is the project that only involve the development of new surface facilities or infrastructures that is required to support upstream operations, and the document to be submitted is the infrastructure facilities development plan, such as putting a pipeline. And additionally, under infrastructure, a project that involves the development of new surface facilities or infrastructures that is required to also support upstream operation, but has associated reserve addition. So that's required FDP submission. Next item is on FFR. FFR is a comprehensive multidisciplinary integrated re-evaluation of all available geoscience and engineering data. The main objective of FFR is to optimize the resource maturations plan and to maximize full life cycle of the field with additional resources and NFE within the contract boundary. So this is just within the contract boundary. Another one is on the, before that, when FFR should be conducted. So when there's significant deviation based on the PDR or there's a new data available, such as new or reprocessed seismic, new geological concept, or any new study that shows significant deviation from the assumptions on earlier studies such as FDP or previous FFR, or when the reservoir performance deviates from the expectation, which shall be reviewed through AME, or within 5 years from the date of initial field productions or previous FFR, or 5 years before PAC expiry or economic limit. So that's the triggering point for FFR. Meanwhile, for ADP, the submission timeline of ADP shall comply with the terms and conditions of the contract, and the contractor shall submit ADP prior to expiry of the explorations or GHA period, which is the gas holding area period. And after the ADP matches into FDP, it shall undergo the FDP MR process either on a standalone field or a cluster field. And in case of review for a cluster of field, the contractor shall ensure that each of the field meets the requirement set in the FDP MR process. Okay. And finally, on PDR, which stands for Post-Drilling Report, is a comprehensive document that summarizes the results of drilling campaign with reference to the FDP. And it should also summarize the highlights and lowlights of the drilling or completion operation, as well as key lesson learned and recommendation for future works. Okay, let's move to next slide. Okay, we have covered the AVF, we have covered RD here. AVF, RD, and now we are moving to the next part, which is on AME. Okay, so why we need AME? So first one, for asset performance. Number two, on the opportunity and threats toward productions and ultimate recovery. And number three, as the technical endorsement avenue. During the production phase, either for oil or gas, we gain better understanding of the integrated performance of subsurface and surface facilities. So this is actually crucial for us to optimize the production and maximize the field ultimate recovery. And in many of the brownfield, there are substantial contingent resources which may not be recovered with the current development strategies. So in addition, there are cases where the current field development indicates significant deviation from predicted performance as per FDP, for example. So AME will help to review the field performance that will trigger further evaluations for new development opportunity. Okay, since AME will gather almost of the technical professional of all domains, so it serves as good avenue to obtain technical endorsement as well for production enhancement activities, data acquisition, WPP activities for subsequent years, and many more. So that's the intent of AME. Okay, let's move to next slide. So let's take a look on AME. So there are 8 pillars of AME where HSE and technology can be seen as the base. And for RMP, we look at the reservoir performance. If there is, for example, if there is water injection, we shall review the IVRR, the instantaneous voidage replacement ratio, and the cumulative voidage replacement ratio, and how the reservoir pressure trends looks like. And based on the performance, it may trigger the need to do validity check on the RMP, or maybe trigger for potential infill drilling or putting another injector. For TWM, it also manage the production enhancement and other well reactivation and planning for subsequent year wells activities. For ODS, which is stand for Objective Driven Surveillance, focusing on value of information for data acquisition, especially if there is a need for asset value growth. Next one on the surface facilities, looking at ullage or bottleneck, deferment management, asset life extension, facilities improvement, and others. And next one on abandonment, on the field economic limit, plan for abandonment, and the triggering point for the decommissioning. Next on the project/activities and costs, as the name explained, looking at the activities, the volumes that it can bring together with the production forecasting and costs. And next item on volumetric update related to the ARPR for any movement of the reserve or resource of its maturity. And last one, TP stand for technical potential and production forecasting. Looking at the what is the technical potential and also productions for the following year in the WPB profile, also in the limit diagram and the delta tracking. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, this is the recap. I think we have covered all of it. First one on the general upstream regulatory framework. We have take a look on the pyramid. We have take a look on the 12 volumes in PPGUA, the latest one, 4.1. In ADE, we also already take a look on the 7 steps in ADE, inclusive all of the studies in ADE. You also learn about Petronas activity outlook that give the next 3 years activities of oil and gas industry in Malaysia, not only for upstream, even for downstream. So you can refer for Petronas activity outlook. And next one on asset management integrated review, we have take a look on the 8 pillars and also the base of the AME, which is HSE and technology. Okay. All right. So, Haziq, how should we handle this? I think we come to the Q&A, I guess.
Sure, I didn't realize I was muted there. Okay, yeah, thanks, Izwan. All right, so maybe we can move on. Yeah, I guess we can move on to the Q&A. If anybody has any questions that they would like to ask directly, you can always unmute yourself and ask. So let's give maybe half a minute for that. If not, then I will pick out some questions from the chat.
Okay.
Okay. then I guess I'll pick out some questions from the chat first.
Okay.
So we have, let's see. Okay, so we have question from Amir Hisham Al-Bakri from Innovim Sindian Berhad. Question is, in reality, do the super majors accept PP Gua when they have their own global standards? For example, Shell's DEB.
Sorry, okay. In reality,
Okay, in reality, do the super majors accept the PP Gua when they have their own global standard? For example, Shell's DEB.
oh, okay. All right. So it goes back to the regulatory framework. So it goes back to here. So the bounded agreement is actually the petroleum management contracts. So the requirements of the PPQA is also mentioned in the PE contracts, because so this actually covers all the it's actually legal bounded, and it also shows what are the requirements and what are things to be delivered by PAC. And it's also included all the laws in Malaysia where all the petroleum management contractors need to abide and follow. So I hope that's actually explained. So I think it's quite straightforward, because it's already legally binded through the petroleum management contracts. And inside the petroleum management contracts will also mentions about the requirements to comply to any guidelines that actually mentions by Petronas. Okay, I hope that's.
Oh, okay. Looks like he. Yeah. Do you want to unmute yourself, Mr. Amir?
Hi, Izwan.
Hi.
Hi. You might remember us from Reset.
Okay.
We did the mixed reality thing for your big guns.
Okay.
Okay. I seldom see intended documents. I seldom see PP Gua, but I will only see Shell's DEB requirement. They will always refer to their own standards.
Okay.
And sometimes they still want to use their own software, which I don't think is covered in PP Gua because it's quite generic. Not that I've seen everything in PP Gua, to be honest. But intended documents, they always refer back to their own standards, not PP Gua. And normally, the one that really uses this is Petronas themselves. Maybe Charigali in this respect. So if it's governed, like you said, it's within the agreement, the PAC. Why are they still emphasizing their own standards but not PP Gua? And this is real commercial tenders.
So if you manage to go through PP Gua later on, it doesn't put really specific to the the specific technical works, but it just provide overall guidance in terms of how to actually perform the works. And just now you touched about the software. In the PP Gua, we mentioned about the requirements to utilize a commercial available software. So even though we actually encourage developments of technologies by operators and by service companies, the software should not be proprietary, because the intent is that we want to make sure that later on, once let's say the PAC is actually doing divestment, or the PAC come to the expiry, so the works that has been done by the team still can be continued by the new team, by the new company. And we don't want to actually miss the technical works that has been the good works that has been went through the review and approved. So that's one of the reason why we want to have the software or systems actually commercially available. But in terms of the standard, standards, in the PP Gua, it's not to the points of details of the technical engineering works, but it's provide the overall guidelines that so long as that's actually meeting the PP Gua requirements, whatever standards that they are following, there's no issue for it. Okay, is that okay?
Yeah. Actually, I see that you have some other question in the chat as well. Would you be comfortable to ask directly to Mr. Izwan?
Yeah, why not? Since everyone else is quite shy to ask any questions.
You want to switch on your camera also, Ken? Amir?
Hey, that's good. I'm actually in the office today. Hello.
Oh, good.
Hello. Um, the other ones I asked now because when you mentioned about agreements and from PDA a few months back there was maybe last year there was a big argument, went to court and all that. So now Petros, are they considered as a PAC or are they considered as another regulator when you already have Petronas? So that I think that was the question before the PP Goa. The other question I have is on that slide when you mentioned Adir, if I'm not mistaken, part of the pre-development plan and before you go to FID, I see that on the slide you have a lot of technical evaluation on one side, either to go or not go, because that would involve you drilling, building a facility, a production facility, but nothing much mentioned on the offtake. So is that a given? How do you plan the numbers in terms of pricing? Who do you sell it to? Because one thing is the cost, the other thing is the income, right? But at which part in Adir that you actually look at offtake, the commercial agreement, and also the numbers that come with that? Because I think the FDP needs to be complete in terms of cost, cash out, and then you need to know what cash coming in.
So that's already advanced stage of the PP Goa. That is actually already covered in the volume 8. It best if I have my colleague from POM to answer that questions on the offtakes. That's already actually managed by Petroleum Operation Management in MPM. So they look on the offtake management and also in terms of the commercial portion for it. I might not be the best person to answer for that, but we can link to you to my colleague later on to answer for that portion.
I was referring to that slide. The slide when you mentioned about Adir with all the master review. You have ABF. Can we go to that slide? That's fine.
And this one?
This one here, yeah. So you have the FDP here, and then you have the final investment review, right? So when you investment review would mean you need to know the other part of it, where where the money is coming in. So at which stage of all this that you consider all that? Referring to this slide.
So if you refer to this slide, this is not referring on the offtake, Amir. So this is actually referring to the expenditure for the project. So this is not referring to the aspect on the offtake and also in terms of the sellings of the molecule. So that's actually covered in the PP Goa for volume 8, as I mentioned, and also managed by another department in MPM called Production Operation Management. So that one, the final investment review, is actually reviewing the works that has been done for the project, specifically for the project. In terms of the expenditure of the surface facilities, let's say the topside, pipeline, and also the cost of the well that's spent for the project. Because throughout the project, there might be new informations, new finding that we might need to sidetrack the well or actually change the well targets. So that's already changed the objective of the FDP in the beginning. So that's why we have the final investment review to look back whether we are still meeting the objective of the FDP or of the project. And the questions on the Petros, I think that one's a bit sensitive, but you can go to Petros website. What I understand is that their coverage right now is on the onshore of Sarawak. So I don't want to comment further, but you can refer to Petros website on the scope that under Petros. I think we have heard the recent announcement by Petros that they give award for onshore block in Sarawak. Okay.
All right. Here we have a question from Rose Rosmawati. How does ITRC differ from the MR gate system?
Sorry, how ITRC different from MR gate system?
Yes.
Actually, it's the same. For ITRC, stand for Integrated Technical Review Committee. That one, it's more in terms of having an internal review committee within Petronas and Petronas Carigali. Because in order to align internally, so we have another process that called is ITRC. For MR1 to MR4 or MR5, that is in the that is actually sit by the OBO or operated by others. So it's actually still the same process. Just the name is slightly different, and it's still following the same FEL 1 to FEL 3 until its execution. So actually, it's the same thing. Only that the people who actually sit for it are different people. So ITIC is more for internal.
All right, we have I see in senior Amiza, you have your hand raised. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Maybe the question that I ask you is not very related to the topic today. Okay, let me introduce myself. I was process engineer in one of international company in KL, and I have 10 years experience in oil and gas consultations. Then currently I'm just joined educational lines. Then I would like to seek for your point of view, how you look the futures work in oil and gas and chemicals, as we foresee the opportunity in the time of change, the gloomy of the oil and gas industry that we're facing now. Yeah.
All right. Okay. That's a very interesting questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amiza. Sorry. I don't have the really a solid answer, but this is my perspective on the subject. Because right now we are making a commitment on the net zero carbon emission. I think people are already aware that we are making journey towards the sustainability plan. And for oil and gas industry in Malaysia especially, we are seeing the opportunity in terms of the carbon capture in the CCUS and CCS. And when we are seeing in this opportunity later on will not limited to upstream oil and gas industry only. The CCUS and CCS will also serve other industry who probably later on will also make commitment on their sustainability journey and use this CCUS and CCS to store their CO2 and or maybe to store other types of gas that causing emissions and causing the detrimental to the environment. So in terms of the career opportunity, I see that that we are actually expanding our skill, and when we are looking the nearest technical disciplines that can help to support the CCUS and CCS is the people from the upstream oil and gas industry who already have the experience, who already have the regulatory in place, the engineering knowledge in order to to work on the sustainability agenda. So other industries actually can start to work on together with us, with upstream oil and gas industry, to actually store the CO2 for this commitment. So that's how I see in the future. That is my personal opinion.
Thank you. One more questions. Can I get more information on how can I register my student for entering this SPE? Yeah, maybe the guideline, or who can I contact?
Maybe Harbin can help. Harbin, before Harbin or anyone can answer.
Yeah.
SPE KL, we have other SPE student chapters. Actually, we guide them for them to conduct their activities, and also, not just in terms of conducting activities, so we also provide them guides in terms of what are the technical areas that they should look on. And Harbin herself, actually from the academia, she did the introductions on the SPE membership just now. Probably Harbin could add further.
Please, Harbin.
She might not be in the call.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, maybe Amiza, you could contact me afterwards, because I'm also involved a little bit with the collaboration between student chapter and SPL section. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
May I know from which
So
university?
you had Uni KL Pasir Gudang MyTech. Okay.
Okay.
So how can I get your contact number, Haziq? Your email maybe?
Okay, sure. I'll type it in the chat. Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
another. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Amiza.
this one, I have a question from my side.
Okay.
So, yeah, in my day job, I have been seeing some of these documents, specifically AMIR. I think it's a document that I refer to quite often when I, do the work on EPMI asset. So I was just curious because I see that it is updated maybe once every year. So what is the strategy, or maybe what kind of timeline do we look at when it comes to updating the PPGUA? How can we make sure that the content inside there is relevant? Because from asset to asset is going to be different condition, and I guess the business needs will change over time. So how
Yes.
does PPGUA cater for that?
Yeah, you're right. And even when we actually, that's also related to question posted by Rose, which is on the CCUS and green energy. Is it actually guideline included in the PPQA or incentive? So as we speak, actually, there's a team actually in the behind putting together to work on the updates of the PPQA. For examples, on the sustainability on the CCUS, we are looking in terms of the how that we should identify the storage of the CO2, and how that we should manage in terms of the surveillance, how that we should decide in terms of cessations of the injection, how that we should decide in terms of post of the PAC expiry, how that we should manage the liability to make sure that it's still the cap rock still actually intact, still actually protecting the CO2. So as we speak, there's a progress actually at the back, people who are actually looking at it from various MPM line department to ensure that there's a governance and process, and it's still updated according to the latest industry trend. So that is on the PPGUA. On AMI itself, since you touched about AMI just now, the AMI is actually conducted on annual basis. But the way that we're looking at it is to actually find a way through digitalization so that the updates are actually happening seamlessly. So I think probably you have experienced that there is a system actually where PAC actually submitting the data, but we need to find ways how that if there's a system in the PAC as well that they can talk to the system in Petronas. So these systems actually talk to the system, then the updates happening seamlessly, and we just can focus on the analysis instead of actually transferring and putting together the data. So that's also another part of the digitalizations that actually being worked on. So already shared with you on the digitalization and also the progress of the PPQA update. So that's also happening at the back as we speak.
Okay, thank you, Izwan. Let me just check the chat one last time. Does anyone have any question, before we move on to the quiz session? Let's see if there's any here that I missed. Okay, I don't see any more in the chat. So if anybody does have any other question, you can reach out, I guess, to Izwan or myself. Maybe I can, pass the contact and follow up later on. So, Izwan, if it's all right, would you allow me to share my screen? Can move on for the quiz.
Okay.
Izwan, sorry, you have to stop sharing first.
Oh, okay. I thought you can just click it. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Izwan. Okay, yeah. So before we go on to the quiz, this is the feedback form. You can scan the QR code. I believe the link has been dropped in the chat by Isha. So we really appreciate your feedback. Please leave a comment at in the feedback form. And if you have any other suggestion for future topics, you can also leave that suggestion in the feedback form. So let me give maybe 1 minute or half a minute for everyone to scan it or check the chat for the link. Okay, in the meantime, I think there is one question that I missed. So question is, what is Petronas' way forward to encourage industry to invest into CCUS or green energy? Is there a guideline like within Pipigua or some incentive?
Yeah, I think I already covered that together with your question just now.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. All right, another 10 seconds for the feedback form. Okay, so the Q&A session. All right. So I'd like everyone to switch on their camera so we can go for a group photo before going for the Kahoot quiz session. Let's see. Come on, don't be shy, guys. All right, I see 4 people with their cameras on. That's 5. Okay, more coming in. All right, we'll give it another half minute and then I think we can take our photo. I see TS Hanuruddin just joined. We're taking the photo now. Yes, you missed the session. Okay, so I'll just take the photo now. Okay, all right. You say 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's take one more. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, thanks everyone. Okay, so let's move on to the quiz. Let me share my screen for the quiz. Okay, so for those of you who are unfamiliar with how to join, the instructions are on the screen. Basically, you need to enter this website, www.kahoot.it. And once you have joined, you have to select the option to join a game and enter the PIN. Okay, so then you can see the names coming in on the screen. Okay, we've got 9 so far. So just to remind everyone, we do have a prize for the first place winner. It's a 50 ringgit e-voucher sponsored by SPE KL. So don't be shy. Join the game. You never know, you might be the winner.
Yeah. The questions is not difficult. So just go to kahoot.it and put the game pin 558336. Just helping Haziq as well later.
Yeah, let me drop the link and the pin in the chat.
Yeah. Thanks for the compliment, Anwar.
Okay, we've got 13 so far. Okay, in the interest of time, I'll give it 45 more seconds. Okay, another 20 seconds to join. Okay, we have 50. Okay, in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. All right, so I'm going to start the game now. So this one, you want to take the floor,
Okay.
right? I'll start.
Okay, Ken.
Okay, let's go.
All right. The first question, Malaysia Asset Development and Management. All right, I hope people get all correct. What is PPGUA stand for? What does PPGUA stand for? Petronas Procedure Guideline for Upstream Activities, Petronas Procedure Guideline for All Activities, Petronas Procedure Guideline for Industry Outlook, or Petronas Procurement Guideline for Upstream Activities. I hope everyone answers this correctly.
So for those not familiar, Kahoot, you need to get the answer right and the timing as well.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like everyone got it right, this one.
Okay, excellent. Let's move to the next question. Question number 2.
Okay, let's
Oh,
see.
not yet. Okay. Currently leading by AA, followed by PTEC-F, RG, APSA, and AMIZA. All right. Let's see the second question. This document shall be submitted prior to expiry of exploration or GHA for approval. So which document? Is it AVF? Is it FDP? Is it ADP? Or is it RD? I characterize this as a medium level question. Which one? So the answer is, the answer is ADP. So that is the document need to be submitted and get approval before the expiry of the explosion and GHA. Okay, let's move to the third question. Before that, let's see who's actually leading. Puasa in the first one, Amy, Amiza, Hana, and AA. Let's see the third question. For the third one, what document can the public refer for the activity outlook in Malaysia? Is it PPQA? Is it Petronas Activity Outlook? Is it Asset Development Integrated Review? Or is it Asset Management Integrated Review? So this is the document. Which one is the correct one? The public can refer. All right, so the answer is Petronas Activity Outlook. All right, even the student can refer that as well. Next, okay. Puasa is still living, followed by Amy, PTEC-F, AGI, and APSA. All right. Let's move to the next question. Questions number 4. MR1 covers plannings and expectation setting for the following studies, except which study is not actually included. Okay. Is it FDP, ADP, FFR, or FEED? Defeat. So which one is not part of MR1? Except. Hopefully people answer this correctly. Looks a bit obvious. Okay, 8 people answered this correctly. So the answer is FEED. That is actually front-end engineering design. Okay, let's move to see who's actually leading. PTEC-F is actually leading, followed by Puasa, APSA, MZ, and Amy. All right.
Liam is our highest climber.
Yeah. Questions number 5. So this studies is actually within and beyond contract area and expiry, which cover RF cap analysis, NFE, operational synergy, etc. Actually beyond contract area and beyond the expiry date. So which study? Is it FTP? Is it FIR? Is it ABF? Or is it FIP? FIR, Facility Investment Review. FIP, Partner. Okay, it's actually AVF. So this is actually beyond the contract area and beyond the expiry. So next question. Oh, before that, APSA is actually leading, took over the Puasa place. Puasa at second, Amy, followed by Agi and PTEC-F. All right. Okay, Haziq. Questions number 6. Select one item that is not role and responsibility of ADE TRC. Which one is not? Single point for technical commercial, strategic management drive, technical quality assurance, or report activity outlook. So which one is not role of ADE TRC? It's pretty obvious actually, because all right, at least half of it, half of the participant answered this correctly. It's report activity outlook, because this actually coming from the all overall industry. It's not from coming from other TRC. Okay, next question. Oh, sorry. Leading now is Amy, followed by Puasa, PTF, Agi, and Absa. And at the sixth place, IWM, the highest climber. Question number 7. Which one of the below is not typical studies in AD process? Ame asked this question just now. We refer this slide. Is it ABF? Is it FDP, Ame, or ADP? So which one is not the typical study? All right. 9 people answered this correctly. It's Ame, because Ame is actually beyond the AD process. It's during the production phase. Okay. First place is still followed by Amy, followed by Absa, Puasa, PTF, and AMZ. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Question number 8. This is multi-select, so you have to choose more than one answer. Select the benefit of conducting ABF study. What is the benefit? Is it reschedule later the well P&A, extend the well life, or for asset life extension, or for PSC extension? So you need to answer all correctly to get it correct. So this is hard level question. Okay, so actually it's all. The answer is all. So we can reschedule a letter well P&A, because probably there's other opportunity beyond the PAC expiry, and we can extend the life of the field. So that's why it's actually cover all of that. Okay. Next question. Oh, sorry. We see who actually leading. Puasa actually leading, followed by Absa, AMZ, PTF, and Amy. Question number 9, also on multi-select, so you have to select all answers. That is correct. Which one of the below require FDP? Is it EOR AGR, infrastructure project, behind casing opportunity, virgin field development? Tips, there are 3 answers. Just want to give tips. There are 3 correct answers. Okay, it's all EOR, EGR, infrastructure project, and virgin field development. Behind casing opportunity, which is the ones that we're going to do at Perth later on, is not part of FDP. That is at the production phase. Okay. Puasa still at the first place, followed by PTF, AGI, Amy, and I. I is the newcomer. Last questions. Still on multi-select. So I have to choose more than one. Select below that are part of AME pillars. Remember, there are 8 AME pillars, and then there was base of AME pillars. So which one is actually part of AME pillars? Total well management, reservoir management plan, surface facilities, or post-drilling report. Okay, majority managed to answer it correctly. Okay, PDR is actually post-drilling report is after the drilling, so it's not part of the AME pillars. Okay, Haziq, let's see who's actually the winner. Third place, Puasa. Second place, Agi. And first place, PTF. Congratulations to all the winners. Haziq?
Hey, congrats to the winner. So for PTF, kindly ask you to stay behind just for a few minutes so that we can get your contact details. Then we can help to pass you the prize. Okay. Let me take a screenshot of this real quick. Okay, yes. Thank you, Tarus. Okay, so yeah, we have come to the end of our session. So thank you once again for everyone who's taking their precious time during the lunch break to tune into our talk. I think it was very great sharing from Izwan. So for next week, we do have another talk as part of our series, will be the 6th installment. And the title is The Digital Framework in the Oil and Gas Upstream Industry by Sujit Kumar. So for those of you who are interested to join, you can scan the code over here, or you can also check our LinkedIn to find the link over there. So again, same time, same date, just the next week on Wednesday, 11th of August from 12 to 1:30 p.m. All right, once again, thank you everyone. So I'll leave this screen on for about maybe 1 or 2 minutes for everyone to scan it, and then afterwards, Mr. Fahmi, PTech F, if you could pass your contact details to us, stay on for a bit.
Wah, congrats for me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for everyone who's leaving the call, it's the cases are going up again, so please stay safe. Take care of yourself.
I have Fahmi punya number, so that's
Okay.
okay.
All right. In that case, I
Yes, he
think
was- yeah.
I think Kak Ros, you can handle that lah. Probably we don't have to ask Encik Fahmi to
Alright,
stay.
yes.
Okay.
Is he still here though?
I see him in the chat.
Alright, I just need to ask whether he prefer Grab or Touch and Go.
Encik Fahmi, question for you.
Touch and go.
Touch and Go, okay. Tak nak ambil gambar ke?
Gambar apa tu?
Gambar pemenang.
Yalah, tak apa.
Cik.
Alright, correct.
All right. So it's already 2 minutes. Hopefully everyone can get these details. So I think we can end the session and return everybody 10 minutes of their time. Good.
Yes, thank you Izwan. And thank you Haziq.
All right. Yeah. Once
Thank you,
again,
everyone.
thank you, Izwan. Thank you everyone for
Thank
tuning
you,
in. Have a
everyone.
nice day.
Thank you, Izwan.
Thank you everyone. Stay safe. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Stay safe.